Alright, welcome to the next video in my player review series where I talk about Florida Panther players on an individual basis. We talk about kind of what they did last year and how they can improve this year. Today's video is Anthony Duclair. Before we get started, make sure you hit that like button. I appreciate everybody yesterday that did. Had a whole bunch more likes, so the videos get shown more. I'm hopefully, if not today, if not starting today, definitely by next week I'll be back up to 2 videos a day. And then once development camp comes, it'll be a lot easier. But right now we're doing the player reviews. So let's get into it with Anthony Duclair. Now, Duclair, I know a lot of people that have him pegged in, slotted in, penciled in, markered in, cemented in for a top 6 role. Now, that's my analysis, right? That's my analysis of Anthony Duclair. So, 10 goals, 22 assists. He did miss a few games with injury. I don't usually say a guy needs to stay healthy to improve because everybody needs to stay healthy. It's not like you go into the season going, I think I'll get hurt and miss a half a dozen games now and then. You know what I mean? So, obviously, everybody needs to stay healthy. His biggest concern, the biggest thing I have with Anthony Duclair is making your chances count. All right? We've all seen him fly down the wing at lightning speed, and then to be truthful, I'm going to address that, but I think that if there's one improvement that he needs to make, this is going to sound a little strange here, but learn when to use that speed and when not to use that speed. And I'll get to that after we look at the stats a little bit from last year, because I don't want to completely just make it sound like I don't like the guy, because I do. Now, looking at the stats from last year, like I said, 10 and 22. He gets points in 4 of the first 5 games. All right, so we're off to the races, even though he has no goals. Then he goes and gets no points in 6 straight. So if you look at this, that's a lot of zeros for the first 12 games of the season. All right? That's a lot of zeros. That's not a top 6 guy. That's not a guy that you plug in up there with Barkov or Huberto and say, go get him. Not yet. Then, again, he gets goals in 2 or 3 games. And then an 8-game streak with no goals. 8-game streak with no goals. So now he's started off and had a 12-game streak with no goals and then another 8 games. That's not top 6. All right? Why are we even having this discussion with the players that we have on this roster? That's just not top 6. Moving on. Near the end of the season, all right, he gets 4 goals in 3 games. And then he gets no goals in the last 3 games. He gets a couple of assists. And then no points at all in the playoffs. Zippity-doo-dah. That's as in 0 and nothing. Top 6? With the guys that we have on this team, with the options that we have on this team? No. I'm going to get into what I think his role is going to be. I'm going to give you one good statistic here, okay? This is something that I looked at that shows me that his effect on the game obviously goes deeper than goals and assists. If you look here, you look at his plus minus, the rest of his career is not good. All of a sudden he comes to Florida and he's a plus 27. Now he only had 32 points, so he's a plus 27. So what that says to me is that he's making things happen on the ice. He may not get the goal or the assist, but his speed is driving the play, like they like to say. Now, that's where I think his role is in driving the play. I feel, I've said this before, so this is not just out of my butt here. I feel like the best role for Duclair is first line, second line, third line, maybe even the fourth line, but generally the top 9. Who needs a burst of energy? Who needs a game with a guy that's going to drive the play, or a period, or a couple of shifts? I honestly believe that given his style of play and that he has shown a significant propensity for not burying his chances, I think instead of trying to turn him into something that he's not, let's use what he is. And what he is a guy that burns down the ice faster than anybody else, drives the play, but here's the thing. Now, if he wanted to become a more consistent goal scorer, if he wanted to get, and which is interesting because over the course of his career, if you look at his 82 game average, he averages 19 goals per 82 games, which is pretty damn good, and that sounds like a top 6 guy. But he's so inconsistent and so streaky, like Frank Vetrano, which we'll get into in another video, that it makes it hard to keep a guy who's going to have 6 games and 12 games and 8 games with no goals. It makes it hard to keep that guy in the top 6. So instead of putting him up there and saying, here's your chance, and then pulling him back, and putting him up and pulling him back, let's just carve out his role for, this is where you're playing tonight. This is where you're playing tonight. This is where you're playing for these next couple of games, okay? Make it opponent-based, because the other thing I noticed was that he had 10 goals. 3 of them were against Tampa, all right? 3 of them. So maybe let's make it matchup-based. Hey, he matches up good against this line. Let's put him out there against that line. You see what I'm saying? And Q is the type of coach that has no problem doing that. He loves to, okay? If Q could roll a different line every shift, he would. I know it. I'm telling you. So I think that's the role for Duclair. Now, if you wanted to become a more consistent goal scorer, guy that gets more points, to use that speed, you've got to keep it under control just a little bit. Because how many times have we seen him come flying down the wing and then he runs out of room? It's not that he doesn't have a good shot, because he does. And it's not that he doesn't have stick skills, because he does. He runs out of room consistently. That his legs are too fast for the rest of his body. So by the time he gets up onto the goal and he's able to move his arms to shoot the puck, he's past the net, or he's even with the net, and he's hitting the brakes, and it's a mess, and he's missing. So one of 2 things. Either he needs to learn when to use that speed and maybe get a little bit stronger on his skates and have a little bit more of a possession game as he gets, he's going to have to hit the brakes sooner. He's not hitting you can't wait to the line to hit the brakes because you don't want to run into the wall. You've got to get to maybe the point of the circle and start thinking about, I might want to start slowing down now because I'm moving too fast to take a shot. So either that, or he stays the player that he is and just roam him around the lineup, okay? If the second line needs a burst of energy, put Duclair up for a couple of shifts, tip it back down. If we don't even know who's going to be on the top line anyway. Well, I guess we assume it's going to be Reinhardt, okay? Reinhardt, Verhaeghe, Barkov. We got so many guys, I forget at this point. So you assume that's the top line, but if somebody's having an off night, if somebody's got a little dinged up and they're not 100%, you put Duclair up there, he drives the play. That's fine. He's good in those spaces. He's good in those bursts. And that's what we saw towards the end of the season, where he started getting a few more goals and a few more points. He was all over the place. And I think that's his role. I honestly believe that he's best suited in that role. Or he unfortunately needs to learn when it's time to slow down, because he's too fast. It's great that you get past everybody, but when you get past the goal, it's not optimal. You see what I'm saying? So, that's it. That's Anthony Duclair in a nutshell. I hope, to be honest, personally, I'd rather see him stay the player he is and just move him to whoever needs help, whatever line needs energy. That I would just love to see that, okay? You pick which opponent, you look at the lines, you see where you think he matches up, that's where he plays that night. That's what I would like to see. And Quenneville's the guy to do it. He loves to play those kind of games. So, all right. If I'm not back today, I may be back today with something else. But if not, I'll be back tomorrow with another one of these player reviews. I'm going to be starting up the interviews again for the Patreon over the course of the weekend and into next week, now that we're getting closer to the season. So check that link out in the description. YouTube memberships, I'm just about done getting everything ready. I'm going to have that out, if not today, tomorrow. Everybody who joined, I don't have any cards with me. Do I have the, well, you see the card here. So everybody who's a member of the Patreon and everybody who joins as a membership on the YouTube membership is going to get one of the cards sent out to them. While supplies last, I only have 100. I'm going to save about 50 for other things. So like, I'm willing to give 50 away, and I already have 15 or 16 people on the Patreon. So those are spoken for. So, and then obviously there'll be a lot of other things I'll talk about when I get into the memberships. But that's enough about that. Appreciate the support. Like, share, subscribe, share. I'll see you again later.